Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Thompson, as we jump aboard and take a look at day one of the NFL Scouting Combine. Today's an exciting day. It's the first day of on-field drills. We've had some measurements, had a couple of bench press reps going on in the previous days, but today's the first day you get to see guys jump out on the field, start running around, getting a view of if that play speed on film matches up with what we're seeing and how they're measuring, against each other. And definitely had some standouts. So today we're going to go through some takeaways from the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends. Obviously, the majority of what we're going to do is focus on the wide receivers with the Bills' focus in that area. But looking forward to running through some of the takeaways, some of the winners, some of the people that are out there, and really had a positive day and a couple that made us question some things. So first, we'll start with the quarterbacks. Obviously, don't see the Bills being a big player in that market. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to talk about Joe Burrow's hands if I want to get more clicks on the show here. But overall, I thought Justin Herbert, it was good that he weighed in at 236. I actually thought that was pretty good for him bulking up to be able to survive. Jordan Love looked decent. A handful of guys were okay throwing the balls in the drill. There's a few guys that really struggled. Steven Montez had a rough time, Shea Patterson leading some receivers, having them pull up in some of the drills. It's hard to even get a good read on some of the receivers doing the fade route and the over-the-shoulder drill when some of the throws were as bad as what they were. But overall, obviously, I don't expect the Bills to be huge players in the quarterback market, and that matches up. I know there's some people who like, a handful of guys, Anthony Gordon, maybe late on day 3 if he's there as a guy to come in and potential long-term improvement over Matt Barkley. But I don't expect the Bills to be big players in the quarterback market and not looking at a ton of those guys coming out today. I'll leave the wide receivers for last. We'll do a little bit with the tight end group. My couple winners overall, I'll say the losers of the is the overall depth of the tight end class. I don't think it's a great class, and that matches up with what we saw on film. There's a couple names that are out there that are interesting. Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame checked pretty much every box. Measured in at almost 6'6", 6'5 and 3/4, 262. 10.5-inch hands, 33-inch arms, 79-inch wingspan, ran a 4.7 flat, which is solid for 262 pounds. Looked pretty good in the blocking drills. Albert Okwuegbunam, coming out of Missouri, ran a really impressive time, 4.49, 4.50 at 258 pounds, 6'5 and a half, really good athlete from that standpoint. Stephen Sullivan, the backup tight end behind Thaddeus Moss in LSU, I thought was interesting. He has an 85-inch wingspan and kind of looks the part, but when you watch it, he's definitely a receiver trying to be a tight end because he's probably not quick enough to be a wide receiver. Really struggled in the blocking drill, could barely move the blocking sled. So, I think there's some potential there, but I just don't know that he's ever going to be a true tight end or an inline tight end, but maybe some potential late as a developmental guy. Adam Troutman looked pretty good. I thought that he didn't necessarily look all that smooth or graceful running his 40, but his times were good. Checks a lot of the boxes from a size standpoint, and he actually ran a really good 3-cone drill. One of the only, maybe even the only tight end to break 7 seconds. It was down at 6.78, which is a really good time, and shows some quickness. And former high school quarterback, all-time leading receiver at Dayton, is definitely a mid-round guy that could be there. So I thought Cole Kmet checked the box and probably is now looking like that tight end one. I do think the depth of the class is not great. I think Adam Troutman has some potential, and you saw a few athletes stand out that could get some attention. We'll now turn our attention to the number one topic, and that's wide receivers. Obviously, the winner today is Chase Claypool. Eric and I spent a good amount of time in the Cover One Premium Slack channel talking about what this means. So just to put it in perspective, he measured in exactly what you would want to see, well over 6'4", 238 pounds, well built, not a heavy 238, a really chiseled 238, 80-inch wingspan, which is really impressive. With those long arms, put up 19 reps on the bench, and then came out and ran a 4.42. And just to put that in perspective, That's a top 4 all-time speed score when you compare speed versus weight and how much power and how much you're moving. So you're talking about he's up there 4th behind Calvin Johnson, DK Metcalf, and Julio Jones. And to be in that kind of company from an explosion and power and speed standpoint is just incredible. Had a 40.5-inch vertical. So you're talking about a special athlete. So I think you want to be careful. Again, in the Cover One Premium Slack channel, we talked about guys, like last year, Miles Boykin put up a pretty historic combine. He still only went 93rd and then didn't do a ton for Baltimore. So I do think you want to be careful. That's another special athlete coming out of Notre Dame, putting up a historic combine with okay film. So, obviously I'm not the level of draft analyst that guys like Eric and Russ and Christian are, but what I saw from Chase Claypool matches up with what they kind of confirmed. Eric has him as a 4th or 5th round guy, and we both agreed this could probably put him in the range where Miles Boykin went last year. Miles Boykin got kind of one of those compensatory 3rd round picks, like 93rd to 100th, in the late 3rd round, early 4th. That's probably the range where he is. People thinking this pushes him into the 2nd round. You never know. When people run historic times from a combine standpoint, crazy stuff happens. But just as a reminder, Al Davis has passed away, so he's not there to pick the Darius Hayward-Bays of the world anymore. So I wouldn't get overly crazy about him, but it's certainly, we joke that anybody who has black market all 22 Notre Dame film, it's worth its weight in gold right now, because everybody's going to be diving back in to look at Chase Claypool as an athlete and overall what we have taking away. The guys in the chat are talking about a lot of the names that I liked here as well. 2 of my other winners for today were Justin Jefferson and Denzel Mims. Jefferson ran a 4.43. Both guys checked the box from a size standpoint. So Denzel Mims was right there at 6'3", 6'2", and 7/8, 207 pounds, nice long arms. Same idea that we saw with Justin Jefferson, 6'1.5", 202, nice long arms. Both of them ran really good times. 4.43 for Jefferson, 4.38 for Mims. Both of them had really nice jumps. Again, Mims a little bit better, but both of those guys are guys that have really good film, are refined route runners, really good hands, and then came in today and checked every box from a physical standpoint. So that's exactly what you want to see from a deep draft class like this at wide receiver, and that they may have differentiated themselves when you have a really jumbled group after that, top tier. I think just about everybody has some order of Jerry Jeudy, CD Lamb, and Henry Ruggs as the top 3. And then it gets really jumbled. And, whether you like Jalen Reagor or whether you like Brandon Ayuk or Laviska Shenault, T. Higgins, I think Jefferson and Mims both put themselves pretty firmly in that group. Another guy I thought that did himself well today was Brandon Ayuk. For a guy who's only 5'11.5", has crazy long arms and has the same wingspan as Chase Claypool, who's almost 6'5". Ran a 4.50, a nice time. And, again, we talked about it in the Slack channel that anybody who runs between a 4.45 and a 4.60, you basically check the box as fast enough to be an NFL wide receiver. It doesn't concern us unless you're getting up well above into the high 4.6s or a 4.7. So Juwan Jennings out of Tennessee, when he ran back-to-back 4.73, that matches up with some of the concerns you see on film, and that is he going to be able to get separation at the next level? And, when you talk about whether, CD Lamb ran a 4.51, and I think Jerry Jeudy's official time got at 4.45, that means you're fast enough. You're fast enough to be an NFL wide receiver, and you're going to be able to make some guys miss when you have the opportunity, and it is what it is. Out of the somewhat smaller guys, your Henry Ruggs, your Jalen Reagor, Lynn Bowden, Prochet, Devin Duvernay, they all were thick enough for what we saw in the measurements. They all weighed in a little bit, almost 200 pounds or just over. That matches some of the BMI measurements that are out there to say, hey, are you going to be able to hold up to where the NFL rigors are going to take you through. So I thought those were positives as well from a overall standpoint. On the negative side of things, I didn't think there were a ton of really bad performances today, or guys who hurt their stock terribly, or put themselves at risk. I can't lie. The report that came out that T. Higgins wasn't going to run any drills because he was resting. I don't think that's a great look. Justin Jefferson played in the national championship game. So did, all the other LSU and Clemson guys. Isaiah Simmons is running all the drills. Clavon Chason, Christian Fulton, they're all running all the drills. Plenty of other guys who played in the championship games and in the semifinal are doing all these drills. So I think that's not a huge red flag. It's not a major concern, but I want a guy who wants to put his nose in there and compete with all the best guys in a historically deep wide receiver class, and sitting it out to run at your pro day because you're going to rest. I just didn't think was a great look. I almost, if I was his agent or his marketing people, I would have said that he tweaked a hammy or something. It's not a great look to say that you're sitting out all the drills because you want to rest. I just thought that was weird. I don't think Laviska Shenault had a great day, measured a little bit shorter. Gone are the days where everybody put in the, program that everybody's 2 inches taller than what they are. And you say you're 6'4", but you're really 6'2". Now, for the most part, people are pretty accurate because they realize you're going to get measured down to the eighth of an inch. He was listed everywhere at 6'2", and he came in at 6 foot and 5'8", so almost an inch and a half lower than what was measured. Weighed in at 227, which is good. He plays a powerful player. His value is breaking tackles and being able to, get yards after contact and being a powerful wide receiver who's versatile and can do all kinds of other things, almost as a, jet sweep running back role sometimes. But then he ran a 4.59 and it looked a little awkward. He did pull up injured and didn't run again. So, maybe that's just a bad time, but a guy that a lot of people expected to be in the 4.4s, low 4.4s, to run a 4.59 wasn't great. Again, it's not a huge concern, but, being shorter, not doing great in the other explosion drills and jumping drills, and then running a little bit slower time and pulling up injured when you already have some injury concerns, I didn't think was a fantastic day for him. Again, not a red flag, not any guy that I'm, wanting them to take off the board or anything crazy, but, wasn't great. Same idea. I know a lot of people were really excited about Jalen Reagor, and I like him a lot. I think he's absolutely in play somewhere there between wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 8 in that next tier. And, I thought he was okay. He ran, a 4.47 and a 4.50. A lot of people thought he might push Henry Ruggs for the best time. So running 0.2 slower than what a lot of people thought is a little odd. So, I don't know that it's terrible news, but it was a good chunk slower than what people expected. So not a great day per se for Jalen Reagor, but he was fine. He looked good in the drills. Two other guys, from a size standpoint, Antonio Gandy-Golden and Michael Pittman, both checked every box, both firmly over 6'4", over 220, looked good in the drills. Pittman ran 4.52, which is pretty nice, and Gandy-Golden 4.59. So both plenty fast enough when you're 6'4", 220. So both guys who, if they're available in the right third, fourth, fifth round, depending on where they fall, again, some good players are going to fall in this historically good receiving class. So there's going to be some value later. Those are definitely both names that I'm going to keep an eye on. That's everything for my notes. Looking through some of the questions in the chat here. Really excited about AJ Epinesa, a guy that we're going to see, run. I want to see some explosion out of him. I'm really curious to see his first 10 yards and first 20 yard splits. I don't really care about his overall 40. Same idea as Nick Bosa. He ran a 4.86 in the 40, but he ran a 1.59 in his first 10 yard split, showed elite explosion. I don't really care that he ran a 4.86 because if your defensive end's running 40 yards, nothing good is going to happen. So overall, I appreciate everybody's comments. I agree. It was a shame with Van Jefferson's news coming out that looks like he's going to have surgery on his foot. Glad they caught it now. 6 to 8 weeks right now is nothing. Missing all of March and all of April doesn't hurt anything. So a guy who still could fall a little bit. Same thing with Thaddeus Moss. Both of them seem like everything is going to be able to be taken care of now, be ready for training camp, are not going to be a huge negative for anything that's out there, but still a shame. You want to be able to see guys run and perform, and both Thaddeus Moss and Van Jefferson had some nice momentum going through the offseason programs here. So seeing what he did, or not being able to see him perform amongst the rest of the group was kind of tough. So that was it from that standpoint. But glad that they're identifying those things as they're happening early on and not having to be able to go through it late. We're going to be doing these shows each night after each day of the performance. So looking forward to tomorrow. Going to be able to see a little bit more of the hog mollies get out there. Everybody loves to see offensive linemen run the 40, but there are some things that matter. So when you're looking at this, some of the drills matter more than others. For offensive linemen, the 3-cone drill really matters. How's your footwork? I think the explosion drills and the standing long jump, how your broad jump looks and some of the verticals matter in what your explosion is, how quickly you can get out of your stance and doing those things. So I'm curious to see some of that. So we'll see that. And obviously some of those shorter drills with the footwork and explosion matters on the defensive line as well. So going to see some big guys get moving tomorrow. Excited to see some of the running backs get some time going. Going to wrap things up on Sunday with the DBs. And I think there's going to be a good chunk of value for the Bills to be looking at there as well. So going to have a fun time being able to go through these. We'll do these short, quick ones, somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes, just to kind of recap our thoughts for the day. Take my notes from what Eric saw, what the rest of us saw, some of the conversation. If you want to take part in this, we had a blast today watching the show together in the Cover One Slack channel, sharing times back and forth, being able to kind of talk about who is doing well and who is looking good in the drills. Come on over, check out what we have. A lot of good things happening with cover1.net. Awesome write-ups from Russ, from Christian, from Eric, from the whole team, checking out everything we have going on. Appreciate everybody jumping in the chat tonight. It was a lot of fun. We will continue to do these as the week goes. You have been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.